Check one. Check one. Check two. Today is August 4 in the year 2023. Welcome. Kick it! La 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 la.
Going forwards, using all my breath. Making love to you was never second best.
Hey!
I saw the world crashing all around your
Kick it, guys.
Never really knowing it was always mission right.
Sing it! I'll stop the world and else with you. You'll see the difference and it's getting better all the time. Wow, flashback. Flashback 1982 maybe. Modern English singing I'll Stop the World and Melt with You. Beautiful, beautiful stuff, man. Thank you, guys. I hope we don't get struck for that, man. Hey, how you doing? Marcus Conti reporting. Welcome to the program. Talk about real versus fake elections. For the last couple of days, we've been analyzing Joe Biden and his darling son Hunter Biden's life together and how they go out into the world and solicit money and deliver favors, leveraging all that on their political positions. Arguably bribery, extortion, quid pro quo at its finest, highest levels of corruption in government. Now, today, we're going to flip the coin a little bit, and we're going to take a look at the latest leftist, for lack of a better term, attack on Donald J. Trump, because he's the front runner in the Republican Party. And the Democrats now, all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, all believe unanimously, because Joe Biden walked away with the win in 2020, that all the elections in America are fair and integral and 100% honest, and there's nothing to see here, and that Trump made up the whole story. He believed it. He lied to the American people when he knew that the elections were free and fair in America, and this is how we do it. And for that conspiracy, he must go to prison. That's the argument being made. I'm not making that argument. That's the leftist argument, that Trump systematically and categorically created a story that elections in America are rigged. And Trump looked at the evidence at the time. A lot of evidence we know. There's rules of gerrymandering. There's rules of how absentee ballots are counted, who counts them. There's discrepancies in exit polling. Why did the exit polls not match the actual vote? There's discrepancies within the machines themselves, that sometimes these machines don't count accurately. It's not about how many votes are in the machine. It's who's counting the votes. It's rigging at the levels of conventions, like the RNC committees versus DNC committees have ways of tilting elections. Right? For Trump to have merely suggested and or talked about it, and millions, more than half the country agreed, probably 3/4 of the country believed that the elections were and still are rigged, and manipulated. We're seeing manipulation right now. Right? The idea of bringing indictments against the front runner in the Republican Party on things that were said years ago regarding elections is utter ridiculous and election interference. So as the Democrats voiced their disdain for Trump's alleged belief that that the elections were real, and the Democrats are, it is Democrat versus Republican. The Democrats have to prove that Trump honestly believed that the elections were real, and then he went out in front of the cameras and said they were fake. That's impossible. That's a ridiculous legal theory. How do you prove that? Trump was surrounded by people that believed what he believed, which is what he was seeing. So fascinating subject. And again, it's dangerous because the current people in power in our banana republic are throwing people in jail for disagreeing with them. And the censorship is coming. Don't kid yourself. Enjoy this show while you can, because when the election rolls around, people like me will be viewed as criminals for speaking on, I don't know, election fraud or, things like, forced vaccines and things like that. So enjoy the program while you can, unless my opinion changes of it, which it never does. I still believe that the elections in this country are deeply, deeply flawed. I believe big pharma is deeply implicated in hurting people with their medications and vaccines. I think it's the leading cause of autism in America and abroad. Big pharma creating that. And big pharma creates more opioid addiction than any fucking drug cartel in the history of the world. So, I mean, these are my beliefs based on evidence that I look at. I think, the 2016 election, Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, pretty much, in my view, cemented the idea that the proof that the elections are not fair and deeply manipulated by powerful people. And that's not going to change unless I see otherwise. I don't see otherwise. What I see is Joe Biden, old Joe Biden, giving the nod to Merrick Garland, his attorney general, to go after Trump at any cost, because Trump is exposing Biden and his kid for the crimes that they committed, taking the money in the Ukraine and China and such. Trump showed the money trail, and Biden is now dumping the whole bucket of shit on Trump's head. There's no other way to read that, because when you look at the indictment itself against Trump, the latest one, not the other bullshit, the latest one that says Trump knowingly misled the American people, defrauded the American people, because he, based on the evidence that he was looking at, the elections were not fair, and that he voiced that opinion. And people did what they did with it, right? Trump's a powerful guy. If you speak, sometimes one or two people will hear you. If you're popular, a couple of thousand people will hear you. If you're the president of the United States, millions of people will hear you. What you believe as the president, you're the elected president, right? And this is what I believe, and this is what I'm voicing. So to say that Trump didn't believe these things is profound, and it's there's no law. It's not a violation of any law. It's I don't even know what it is, but anyway, we'll look at this ridiculous subject that we're forced to look at. Welcome everybody in the chat. Weevil Girl in the house. Thank you. The Wrench in the house. Zoot Cooter, before Daba Hobbit. Welcome, TJ, McKill, my brother. Jim Gerard, TJ. Who else is here? Trussell, David Brown, Sean Kane, and everybody else who's here. Snake, I think, is here. Snake here. Champs is here. Welcome, everybody. These are real people every day on a daily basis. This is my thumbnail today. Trump in the spotlight. Trump may go down in history as being the only president who actually defended election fraud all the way to the end. Because Bernie Sanders certainly got ripped off, and then when he lost or got pushed out of the way, he was like, he shut up about the election fraud. They all do that. Once they get elected, there's election fraud in our country. Then they get elected and they shut up. Trump shut up too while he was elected, but now he got kicked out of office, and he's fighting to get back in. So by default, Trump will become the president that talked about and or overturned election fraud in our country. You may get, if Trump gets elected, you may get election reform in this country, finally, where it is one person, one vote. It's electronicized or hand counted, however you want to do it. We have to get to a place where everybody agrees that it is one person, one vote. And we could get to that. Trump could, if Trump wins, he could certainly do it. Will he do it? Who knows, He'll turn around and say, oh, it's for the people to do. Right? Like he did the last time, right? Sorry, Trump. Trump brought this upon himself. If he would have addressed the election fraud at the time of having power, which he tried right at the tail end, January 6th, he tried on the way out. But it's long after the fact. You had the evidence of Hillary Clinton ripping off Bernie Sanders. You had mucho evidence of, down ballot candidates getting robbed and gerrymandered out of the fucking play. But Trump never did anything about it, and that's unfortunate. And here we are. Here we are in the year 2023 discussing fair or real versus fake and unfair elections in America. 2023. We're still talking about it. It's on display. This guy right here. This is Jack Smith, the throwaway, the guy, the fall guy for the Department of Justice. When the case falls, as long as Jack Smith does what he's supposed to do and what he's told to do, go after Trump, he has nothing to worry about. Even if he lies and cheats and steals and falsifies documents, it doesn't matter. As long as he continues to toe the party line, Jack Smith has not a damn thing to worry about, because he's going to go out the back door and right back into something else, like a cush academic career, like Dr. Fauci. He'll be the president of Princeton or something ridiculous like that. So Jack Smith is a good little boy. He's a good boy. He's like the dog. Good boy, Jack. Good boy, Jack. Go after Trump. Get him. Right. It's the attack dog. And, so Marcus Conti is my name, and this is my website. Every morning at 9 a.m., rain or shine, good, bad, or indifferent, healthy, not healthy, mostly healthy. We're here at 9 a.m. Every day. Daily reruns appear across all these fine platforms: Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Facebook, Twitter, Getter, Truth Social, everywhere. And you can donate to the program through Short Happy Life. We do need to make a living. shorthappylife@gmail.com. Also PayPal and Patreon. Looking at the markets right now. The jobs report came in a little while ago, so it looks like going slightly higher, not too high, after the shellacking over the last couple of days. It looks like it's holding at least. It's not going down anymore. So hopefully it'll continue to go up. We're building. It looks like I'm looking at the NASDAQ right now. This is NASDAQ. It looks like we're building a little bit of a base right here at the bottom. I expected more of a run up. Amazon, by the way, reported yesterday blowout earnings. Apple missed the earnings. Apple missed a little bit, saying their iPhones, they're not making as much revenue on the iPhones. But still wildly profitable in other areas, their watches, and certainly the AI race that Apple is deeply involved in. We'll look at the markets when they open it in a few minutes. So let's start here. A commercial, a Coca-Cola commercial, a new Coke commercial. Let's watch.
Folks, let me tell you about the smartest person in my life. As you probably guessed, I'm talking about my son, Hunter, the magician. Sometimes he wanders into the Oval Office late at night and waves his magic wand around in the air a few times. Then he does a little spin, and abracadabra, all of this wonderful magic powder appears on my desk. I then said out loud, "Holy smokes, all of that powder belongs up my nose, doesn't it?" Hunter then looked at me with a twinkle in his eye and smiled. He said, "It sure does, Papa. It sure does." So to make my son proud, I gave the magic powder a good sniff. Then I gave it 2 or 3 more sniffs, then a fourth. Before I knew it, the Oval Office was transformed into this beautiful, dreamlike fantasy. I was then surrounded by warm neon lights, and my friends, the Corn Pops, arrived to dance with me and drink hot cocoa. Then they all tickled me until I giggled like a schoolgirl. It was everything I ever wanted and more. I realized that not everyone can have a magician for a son, but I'm grateful that I do. Hunter is the smartest man alive.
Yep.
And I'm the luckiest papa there is, folks.
Oh, thank you, Joe Biden. Wow, that was a great commercial. Joe Biden is in a, he's very famous now. He's in a Coke commercial. Right? Here's an interesting story. A Wyoming tennis president resigns in protest after transgender player. So there's a woman in Wyoming. She's head of the fucking tennis there in Wyoming. Head of tennis. And she said, all right, I'm done. They tried to stick another dude. There's the teacher, and there's the dude. They tried to stick this dude in there as he squeaked in somehow because of the exclusion and whatever fucking diversity nonsense. Was competing against women in tennis and kicking their ass in tennis. And the president of the association, Wyoming Governor's Cup, she said enough. Wyoming Tennis Association stepped down from her role when a transgender female was permitted to enter a tournament, claiming that a man playing against a woman is very unfair and against her integrity. All right, so there's the teacher. She did good. There's the dude dressed up like a woman competing against girls. Bye-bye, bye-bye. His name is Brooklyn Ross. Your fucking name isn't Brooklyn. Nobody named you Brooklyn. Right? Your name is fucking Bob or something, or Ben, or Billy. You know fucking Brooklyn. Brooklyn. So there he is with his fake breasts, I guess. Man. Look, here's the answer to this fucking dilemma, right? Stop with the men playing in women's sports. Make a intersex league. That's all. In this league, whatever the sport is, just have it intersex. Nobody is allowed to question your sex in this league. Co-ed. What's wrong with that? Make a co-ed league. Right? You have the men, right? And you have the women, and then you have co-ed, intersex, right? You can, and then there's no discrepancy. Right? Compete in the co-ed league, and there you are, because you're not a woman. And if you were born a man, you are never a woman. If you're born a woman, you are never a man. Even if your mind sees it that way, even if your world perspective becomes that, the sum total of the parts never change. Even if you try to surgically change them or inject yourself with all kinds of medical garbage to make that happen, to create the illusion that you're a woman. See, this guy right here, right? This guy right here is under the illusion. It's the illusion of femininity. It's the illusion of womanhood. It's not real. This is a fake fucking lady, fake female. It's right. So illusional perspective. His perspective is that I'm a woman, therefore I am a woman, and therefore you must acknowledge that I am a woman. Unless you do, then you're a racist and a misogynist and a sexist and a homophobe and all the other garbage that gets dumped on people's heads for pointing out the obvious. But good job to the teacher who the leader of tennis in Wyoming walked away from it. Congratulations. She got out alive. In terms of, that's sex, but what about race? Professor fired for faking data to prove lynching makes whites want longer sentences for blacks. 6 studies retracted. So this cock smoker, I take that back. This fat mother effer, fat black guy, I made it worse, is a professor, PhD, in criminology and law and Society Review. He published all these papers from 2003 to 2019, 20 years of data, got fired for suggesting that among studies he had retracted, claims that whites wanted longer sentences for blacks and Latinos. This is just ridiculous. Which claims legacy of lynchings made whites perceive blacks as criminals. So the legacy, when a long time ago, hundreds of years ago, people strung up stray blacks because they did something wrong. They broke some kind of rule or law, and they got themselves strung up on a tree, right? So because that happened, I wasn't there. You weren't there. Nobody was there. It doesn't make me think blacks are a greater criminal because of that event. I'm looking at the events today. When you look at who's ripping off Walmart, lots of criminality there. Now, low-level crime is easy to spot. I'm going to defend the blacks here. Low-level crime is very easy to spot. We see you breaking the law all the time. You're murdering people. You're selling drugs in the schoolyard. You're stealing. You're beating people up. The videos prove it. On the other hand, there's a lot of very, very wealthy people, a lot of them are white, ripping people off left, right, and center in the stock market, in corporate America, in big pharma, in the military-industrial complex. I give you that. Blacks and whites are equally criminal, right? But everything after but is bullshit. Everybody, there's criminality in the human race. It's not race specific. It's only race specific in your mind, right? You perceive it that way, therefore it has to be, right? You're wrong about that. And we all want to be right all the time. We all want to be right. There is no right and wrong. There's just you look at what's actually happening at the moment. If you look at the low-hanging fruit of criminality, it's mostly black, and they end up in jail. If you look at the high end of criminality, it's mostly white-collar white people breaking the law left, right, and center with little or no consequence. It doesn't have much to do with race. It has to do with money, right? Money people. There's a lot of blacks that are rich and criminals. And there's a lot of low-level, low-hanging fruit whites that get thrown into the can as well. But you see my point. So this guy got retracted. Lying motherfucker. College. He's a college professor. College of Criminality and Criminal Justice, right? He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's often in college theorizing and theoreticalizing everything instead of getting out into the world and being a fucking lawyer or a criminal or going after criminals. So I don't know who this guy is. Stewart, former graduate student, blew the whistle on the motherfucker. There's a picture of a lynching. White people, it's your fault. It's you see blacks as criminals because of this picture right here. A bunch of fucking, 200 year ago people standing around. Who knows where they came from? Who knows what their ethnicities are? Who knows if they even spoke English? All right? And they're seemingly in cahoots with hanging this guy. What did the guy do? What was his crime? I don't know, but this is real. You see this all the time. Young black super predators smashing police cars. You see it all the time. The low-hanging fruit of crime. Right? There's a white guy getting sentenced. So congratulations, professor. He got kicked out of his fucking job. So let's start here. Let's start unpacking Trump arrives at the airport arraignment. I'm going to go through Fox reporting and you'll hear Morning Joe be so fucking. I cannot believe that people don't see what a criminal Donald Trump is. So let's start unpacking the story.
20 election charges in the Biden Justice Department's third indictment. Let's bring in former Deputy Assistant Attorney General Tom Dupree, former federal prosecutor Francie Hakes, and attorney and former congressional investigator Sam Dewey. Tom Dupree is going to join us in just a moment. Francie, first to you, what's the biggest weakness in this case? You've said it's loaded with serious legal and constitutional problems.
Yeah, Liz, I think the biggest weakness is that every count relies upon the prosecutor being able to prove that Trump was knowingly making these false statements that
Right there. All right, so that is very clear in this indictment. The prosecutor, Jack Smith, has to prove, without Trump saying a goddamn word, that Trump was aware that the elections were fair. Right? They're not fair. Trump doesn't believe they're fair. More than half the country is animately sure that the elections are not fair. How do you prove something that isn't real? Right? It's impossible. Right? They're trying to prove the impossible. That's why the case falls.
they say led to a conspiracy. So I think
I'll take that back. It only falls for people that are sane and reasonable. It doesn't fall for psychopaths that believe that, it's a thought crime. Trump believed it. He knew all along. Didn't you know that Donald Trump is a fucking psychopath and he's an animal and he's a con artist and he knew all along. He misled the American people into believing that the elections in our great nation are fake. That's what people believe. Go walk around and talk to people, and you find that out. They believe it. Say it out loud in a crowded place, in a in a liberal area, and say, I can't believe that some people in this country really believe that Trump is a criminal. Say that out loud, and they'll look at you like, you're fucking, what's wrong with you? You're a racist. You're a misogynist. You're a sexist. We have a breakdown in communication, I think. People are losing their social skills. We can blame the pandemic for that. We can blame the isolation and lack of knowing what to do with downtime. A lot of people don't know how to do that. They don't know how to handle quiet mind, quiet time, noble silence. People can't handle it. Right? And I think that that's what's created these delusions. People isolated, thinking over and over again about these things. And suddenly it becomes like, of course Trump's a criminal. Of course the elections in America are fair. Of course Russia hacked the election. I thought Russia hacked the election. If Russia hacked the election, then how are the elections fair? Trump can ask that question. I don't understand. If you're saying that the elections are fair, how come you're saying for 3 years that the Russians hacked the election? Right. How do those two things? If a foreign country hacked the election, how do you know that how could you then turn around and say they're fair and correct? Right? To point that out is to point out that they're not fair and correct most of the time. Continue.
Weak link number one is proving that Trump did not believe that he had won the election, that he was knowingly spreading that falsity that the election was rigged, stolen, or otherwise flawed. And I don't think they can prove that. I think Donald Trump honestly believes that he won that election, or he certainly believes that Joe Biden didn't win fair and square. And the fact that people were telling him that doesn't mean anything when you had other people telling him that he was right, and he wanted to be right.
It's Tom and Sam. Sit tight for a second, Francie. But
it's not that he wanted to be right, ma'am. He believed he was right. That's all he has to prove. He just has to prove that all Trump has to do is say, look, I believe that the elections in this country are rigged. Period. There's no conspiracy there. That's free speech. I believe it. And you have to prove that I don't believe it. What are you gonna do? Go inside my mind and prove that I don't believe something? That's a thought crime, right? There's no solid conspiracy here at all, right? Nobody conspired. It's really a bullshit case.
The special counsel is saying he has Mike Pence's contemporaneous notes. What do you think that will show in terms of Trump's intent?
Weeble Girl says they're fair when your side wins. Right? That's true. Right? It's always fair. My side won. That means it's fair. My side lost. That means it's rigged. How many times do we hear this in in dialogue, right? But again, the difference here is that they're throwing each other in jail. There's people going to jail, or being, having the criminal justice system weaponized against them. I think that's the difference here.
And frame of mind.
Well, I want to know, when in time was that, right? So you've got an awful lot of statements by President Trump over a long time. They filed lots of lawsuits. He got over 7 million votes, 71 million votes, something like that. So it depends on when in time Trump was making those.
We're giving away our 1 ounce Donald Trump gold bars for free. All you have to pay is the shipping. No hidden charges, no recurring fees, none of that. Just cover the shipping. These are absolutely magnificent, let me tell you. And we're giving them away for free until we run out. The last time we did this, it took Patriots just 2 hours to clean us out. To get yours, visit
free. Donald Trump is giving away free blocks of gold.
The next page and tell us where to send it.
All right.
We want to encourage Americans to make this country great once again and believe that giving
free gold bars, man. In an effort to show our love and support. Oh shit! I think I just cut the fucking commercial. Let's continue.
And that could have changed from
I'll cash in my gold bar later.
one day to the next when you're talking about legal experts, and he had reason to trust Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani and others who certainly at the time were very well respected lawyers, when they were telling him that there were problems with voting machines or voting rules or signature verifications, or Fulton County here where I sit declares that there's a burst pipe and everyone goes home, but then they keep counting without Republican poll watchers. All these things happen in not in a vacuum and not on one day, but they happen over a period of 2 months.
Right. So she's making the case that there is reason to believe that the elections are not fair in this country. There's statements by the Democratic National Committee in the DNC fraud lawsuit where the Democrats say the primaries are fake. We pick the candidate. We don't. It's an election kind of like cheerleading, but in the final analysis, we pick the candidate. They picked Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders. They picked Joe Biden over Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and the rest of them. That's how it works. So, is the Democratic primary fair? No, it's fake. It's a fake, propped up election, right? That's a very real statement. Are the Democratic primaries real? No, they're laced with falsehoods, and openly admitted, the Democrats admitted that their Democrats are rigged. And they go with the money, Joe Biden.
We learn more and more about the election. So I still think that's the biggest weakness in the special counsel's case.
Tom, what do you think? Because Senator Tom Cotton says the indictment, quote, reads like something from an MSNBC producer. Let's put it this way. Would this...
Spirit Child says, best way to maintain your sanity in these times is to turn off the TV. I don't know. That's the sand, and that's putting your head in the sand approach. I don't have a TV, but I watch clips like this all the time, daily. But I don't know. I don't know if you have to. You got to look at it. If you enjoy TV or you enjoy the internet, this is what you're being bombarded with. It shouldn't really affect you. It shouldn't affect you in a negative way. You should just be able to say, all right, well, the country is buck fucking wild right now, and we're living in a banana republic. They're all locking each other up. How fascinating, right? Does it make you angry? It doesn't make me angry. It just makes me curious. Let's look at the markets right now. Boom. Wow, nice. We're up a little bit. Looks like we're going a little higher right now. We're liking that. Let's see. Meme stocks. Tilray up about a penny. Right now, Rivian down 11 cents. TQQQ, the hot stock that follows the NASDAQ, up. What happened? I just flashed. We're up right now. We're up for about 2% right now. That's good. So the big reporters were yesterday were Apple. Looks like they missed earnings a little bit, down $5. Amazon, on the other hand, was way up, and they're up 10%. Fucking go Amazon. Amazon is up 9.25% right now and it's not even 9.40 yet. Up $11.89 a share. Meta up $3.43. Microsoft up $6.25. Nvidia up $8. Tesla up $3.50. Bitcoin up $69 to 29,200. Can't get over 30. Let's see the military-industrial complex stocks. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, mixed. Boeing down, Raytheon and Lockheed Martin up. The holiest and holy, super holy vaccine stocks, the stocks that give you the shit that makes you feel good about yourself and your vaccine. All right? Those are the companies that make that shit and profit from it. Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna. Mixed. Johnson & Johnson up, Moderna down, Pfizer flat. What else? So a good day. U.S. economy added 187 new jobs as cool down continues. The United States added less jobs. Less jobs were added, and Wall Street likes that. As you can see, it's going up. U.S. economy adds 8,000, adding 187,000 jobs, missing expectation. What was the expectation? The U.S. economy created 187 new jobs in July, while unemployment fell to 3.5. Economists had expected job gains to total 200,000. So instead of creating 200,000, 187,000 new jobs were added, meaning that less jobs were added, and what happens? Wall Street goes up because it's less people doing more work. Right? That's how Wall Street likes it. Remember, if you're looking for an alternative reality, just follow the stock market. Everything that you believe and think is ethical or correct, especially if you grew up lower and middle class and not rich. Everything that Wall Street does seems to be backwards, but it is backwards. It's in favor of the house, right? And don't bet against the house because in the long run you get screwed like that. So anyway, I'm gonna get my gold bar. Let's see more Trump.
This case have been brought, Tom, if the Capitol riots did not happen. We have Democrats questioning the 2000, 2004, and 2016 election results. And Special Counsel Smith is not charging Trump with seditious incitement.
Yeah, Liz, my sense is they
right. Every Democrat said when Trump won, even Hillary Clinton. You can find the recordings of that. All of them said, "Oh, the elections were rigged. Trump won. How could he have won?" They all said it. Now they want to throw Trump in jail for not just saying it, but that he didn't believe it. They're saying Trump didn't believe what he was saying. That's fucking crazy, right? We're bringing this man to trial because he didn't believe what he was saying, and he misled the American people because he was saying something he didn't believe. Conspiracy. Banana Republic stuff, really.
Probably would have brought this case regardless. I mean, clearly the Justice Department and the special counsel made up his mind that even in the events leading up to January 6th, in their view at least, there was sufficient evidence of criminal conduct to bring these cases. But look, this is going to be a challenging prosecution. This is very different in my view.
Yeah. So let's listen to. I'll get my gold bar later. So again, there's the indictment. This is real. In the District of Columbia, filed yesterday, 4 days ago. United States of America versus Donald Trump. The defendant, Trump, was the 45th president of the United States. Despite having lost, listen to number 2 alone. I think I read it yesterday, but I'll read it again. This is what Jack Smith and his attackers, the other dogs, are going to have to prove. Despite having lost, the defendant was determined to remain in power. What does that mean? What does lost mean? And what does remain in power means? Yes, to hold his current position. So for more than 2 months following Election Day on November 3rd, the defendant spread lies that there had been outcome determinative fraud in the election and that he had actually won. These claims were false. The defendant knew that they were false. Prove that the claims were false. That's what you have to do first. You have to say that his claims were false. Well, prove that everything Trump said about the elections being rigged is false. How are you going to do that? And then you got to get the defendant to believe you that they were false. This is, there's no crime here. It's a legal theory without foundation, right? When you read it, you'd say, well, you'd have to, how do you prove these things in court? You cannot prove these things in court. But the defendant repeated and widely disseminated them anyway to make his knowingly false claims appear legitimate, create an intense national atmosphere of mistrust and anger, and erode public faith in the administration of the election. No, Trump is a patriotic, America-loving kind of guy. He rose to power as president on the back of the people's vote. He, arguably did a lot of good while he was there. He was very, very good on the international stage, de-escalating fucking nuclear wars with people like Putin and Kim Jong-un in North Korea. Right? He did a lot of good. Right? Could he have done more? Well, of course. In my view, he could have addressed this election fraud head on while he was the president. He could have just created an agency that looked at it. That's all. Very simple. And then just tell it to the American people. This is what it is. And the American people will move to change it. He didn't do that. Right? And no, he definitely didn't do that. But he did a lot of good. And that's who Trump is. Trump is someone who, whatever comes out of Trump's mouth, most of the time he believes it. I think he does. If you want to look for lies that came out of Trump's mouth, look at his State of the Union speech, where some of the things he said are just so fucking outrageously untrue or speculative at best. Right? But all politicians do that. There's no doubt about it. But this is criminal. You're accusing someone of being a criminal, right? And I don't know. So let's watch. Let's watch Joe. I'll give Morning Joe the last spin.
Ultimately, what President Trump said is, let's go with option D. Let's just halt. Let's just pause the voting and allow the state legislatures to take one last look and make a determination as to whether or not the elections were handled fairly. That's constitutional law. That's not an issue of criminal activity.
Well, that's actually an admission.
You can say something is not criminal, but that doesn't make it true. That's Donald Trump's attorney.
You could say something is not criminal, but that doesn't. What is this? What is this liberal saying? What is
criminal activity? Criminal activity.
Mission.
You can say something is not criminal, but that doesn't make it true.
You could say something is not criminal, but it doesn't. But you can't make it not true. It doesn't. I don't even know what these people are talking about anymore. What are you talking about?
That's Donald Trump's attorney in the 2020 election case, seeming to admit that the former president did exactly what he is accused of doing.
What is he accused of doing? Believing that the elections were. What are they talking about? Did they read the first line of the indictment? It seems that they didn't.
All he wanted to do is impede, the counting of electoral votes.
Take away people's rights.
No. That's not a violation of people's rights. He wanted to slow it down so that people would do a recount and look at the evidence on the ground. Why? Because he believed the elections were rigged. That's the case here, Morning Joe, former attorney. You have to prove that Trump believed that he was misleading the American people. He did not believe he was misleading the American people. He's an American who believes that the elections are fucked up in this country. Period. That's the basis of the case.
All he wanted to do is impede a process that's, well, it's stated there in the Constitution. That's all he wanted.
That's all he wanted to do.
Like a bank robber say, all he wanted to do is rob a bank.
Take all
Yes, robbing a bank and counting votes. Same thing, Joe, right?
the money.
I mean,
He took the money.
this is exactly what he's charged for. And he
No, he's charged for believing. He's charged for... What an idiot he is.
Yeah, you know, watching Mr. Lauro and
watch this cocksmoker co-sign the whole thing. This is MSNBC. This is your fake news par excellence.
Political defenders like Lindsey Graham, we'll talk about him in a minute, attempt to defend Donald Trump over the last couple of days. It's clear they don't have a lot to work with. Mr. Lauro is a real attorney, unlike some of the other attorneys that Mr. Trump's had around him. He was a prosecutor, and if he can't seem to come up with a cogent theory of the case of
what are you talking about? He can't come up with a coherent theory of the case. He told you what the case is. This is spin. This is ignorance par excellence. They're not even looking at the indictment anymore. They're not even looking at the legality of it. It's all politics.
why Donald Trump was acting legally around the 2020 election in the days leading up to January 6th, because the evidence in that indictment, the allegations in that indictment are so overwhelming. They're hopscotching around, hoping to...
They're overwhelming. What is overwhelming about anything in it? I read it. I'm a smart guy. I didn't see anything overwhelming at all. What are you talking about? See how people, without taking even a slightly deeper dive, you would listen to these idiots on MSNBC, and you might just believe them. Right? Millions of people watch this garbage. Right? That's why you have to keep watching it. You watch it, and you see just how fucking fucked up they are. They have a right to free speech. Who cares? Say whatever you want. But I have a right to look at what you're saying and totally and utterly debunk every fucking last word of it, because it's bullshit.
Something, but nothing's hitting yet.
Well, they're not, and of course they're not going to fight anything illegally because they're boxed in legally. They're going to lose legally. So what they're trying to do is trying to create something for Chinese religious cults that run conspiracy websites.
What the fuck are you talking about? Now it's Chinese conspiracy. This guy's an idiot.
That maybe will
he lost his mind.
Catch hold. Trial balloons catch hold on.
All right, I had enough of that moron. So welcome everybody. Let's see how the markets are doing. How's the markets reacting? We're holding up a little bit. I guess you got to take it. You got to take the little bit of a bump up, a little bump up, little bump. Yeah, a little bump up. Not much of a bump. So thank you all for joining me. And I don't know, man. It's crazy times. Enjoy your weekend. Reflect, relax. The upcoming elections, are elections in this country free and fair and honest and real? This reporter believes that there are gaping holes in the election system in this country, and they need to be plugged and or renovated and fixed so that people will feel comfortable. Not just the party that wins, but all people will feel comfortable when the election is over. Show the results. Let's get a system. All right, we get a system of electing where we see the results as they transpire in real time. No waiting 3 weeks for an election to be counted. In real time, right? One night. Remember how we used to do it? We have an election, and that night it's determined based on the evidence, based on the votes. We need to get to that, and also we need a intersex sports league. Intersex sports. I'll play. I'll play. I'd like to play volleyball with the girls. Right? I'll join the co-ed volleyball as a professional volleyball or football, where you get to be the quarterback and put your hand on the ass of the center, especially if it's a hot woman. Right? A hot woman center. She's the girl that hikes the ball. Right? She hikes the ball under her legs. And as the quarterback, you get behind her. Right? It's very homophobic. It's very homoerotica, right? Football, where the quarterback is intimately comfortable with the feeling of the man's ass in front of him. The center. The quarterback knows everything about the center's ass, right, in front of him. And watch football and you'll see. It's very homoerotica. Mark Conte reporting. Have a great weekend. I really mean that.
Trapped in a state of imaginary grace. I've made a pilgrimage to save this human race. Never comprehending the race at long, long gone.